Ngowi TV, informed economists and business perspective.
Thank you and good morning. I will go through some of issues in a little bit in the context of making interpretation and what all these things mean. I had the pleasure of following the minister from early in the morning on when he gave the start of the economy. You could see for 2019 growth was we posted around 6.9, and I understand already there are issues. World Bank figures, IMF figures will be different, but to me really when it comes to growth, the key issues are of course, depending on who you are talking to, the key issue will be, this is growth, yes, but then to what extent is jobs creating growth? To what extent is poverty reducing growth? To what extent is green growth and stuff, But also the nature of growth. Because sometimes, if you are to disaggregate this growth, the components are quite many. Yeah, when we're having, for example, growth which is, let's say, based on consumption. Again, you have to problematize more, because at the end of the day is, yes, we want growth, but then we want growth that will reduce poverty, we want growth that will be reducing jobs, which has not been mainly the issue in Tanzania due to the nature of growth, The sectors that have been growing are mainly capital intensive as opposed to labor intensive, so really jobs creation becomes an issue, and also, of course, the issues of income. Again, when you have growth which is kind of pushed by consumption and mainly consumption of imports, then actually you don't benefit from this growth as much as if it were growth due to domestic, consumption of domestically produced goods. Now, again, with inflation, I think it has been okay. I think now around 3.5%, basically okay. With infrastructure, several projects have been implemented, and last year I said, and this year again I'm saying it is infrastructure heavy budget. Now what are the issues here? A part of issues, if it was SGR, Stiglitz Gorge, airports, ports, etc., is the local content in this infrastructure. The economy would be benefiting more the more we are having local content in all this, in terms of local firms, companies, etc. I understand, and I know quite a number of companies that are involved as contractors and subcontractors in all this, because at the end of the day, for the economy to benefit, you could get what I call low-hanging fruits, quick wins, even in the due process of implementing this project, because remember, most of this project, are loan financed. So in order to have a multiplier effect, trickle-down effect to the whole economy, then really you need more and more of local content into this project. But then we know the issue, of course, of all this is to unlock a production capacity and production potentials of the country. Now, whereas it has been infrastructure heavy budget, what have been missing mainly is soft infrastructure. There's a hard infrastructure, roads, ports, airports, very traditional, very orthodox infrastructure. But then I'm sure if you have to do deeper analysis, we need more soft infrastructure. IT, for example. I don't have figures, but I know. Intelligent guessing. I would say we have more values in terms of money, in terms of, wealth, traveling through soft infrastructure, internet, for example, with digital economy, with digital transactions. So I would have loved to see more soft infrastructure investment in terms of, more, faster internet, more secure internet. Think about all these e-transactions that we are doing today. Those of us who live in the digital world, you might know what I'm saying. And I think there is more value traveling on the soft infrastructure, on the internet, than on our roads and ports. Even ideas, those of us who send paper from here and there, really you would have wished to see a faster net, a more secure internet. Now the world, as we are saying, banks now, banking is not what to do, but banking is not where you go, but banking is what to do. I'm sure some of you are banking as you are seated here. It's a function really of soft infrastructure. So I would have wished there to see more of that here. Of course, there are issues of the budget focusing on social services, which is very good, health, water, education, etc. Some of the issues that are issues of concern, and I think we should be discussing, issues to which, for example, we are there to international agreements. For example, in agriculture, we had the Malabo agreement, we had the Maputo agreement. See Professor Nyange there. You know, we have said, you know, a certain percent of our budget should be going to these sectors. I think 10%. When it comes to education, we have Dakar agreement, where we would have wanted 20% of budget to be going there. Now, unfortunately, in my view, it has not been so much of the issue. Now, for this year's budget, again, a target is to go to 7.1%. I think I won't go so much into detail again. Again, a tax revenue to be 13% of GDP from 12. Now, there are quite a number of issues. In order to attain this, and of course we'd like to attain this, there are quite a number of issues that have to be fixed. There are a number of issues that are broken in the fiscal space in order to attain exactly this. You know, the question of a tax base of course, has to be broadened. Now the question is, how do you broaden the tax base in the business environment that you are in? When, for example, if you see businesses struggling, it can be a little bit tough to widen the tax base. And here, my other writings have always said, maybe we do not need to tax more. What we need is to tax better. Not to tax more, but tax better. Exactly what we are taxing now, maybe tax better. Because later, for example, when it comes to challenges, you would see issues related to informal sector taxation. We have been seeing this as a challenge, but then we have what we call a presumptive taxation. Actually, you could tax the informal sector amidst its informality, and you could get you know, some more revenues there. Now, I think what we have been unable to try is to experiment. You know, literature will tell you, my friends and Ripo have done this study, Katera, Professor Odd, where we say, you know, maybe lower tax at the end of the day can give us more tax in terms of volume, but then are we ready to you know, to test that? Are we ready to say, okay, let's put VAT at 10% and maybe we increase voluntary compliance? Let's reduce skills development levy and maybe we increase compliance. I think we are not daring to test it because we don't know what will be the result. I think Ghana has, I'm told, Ghana has tried to do a little bit of that, you know, removing a lot of taxes in order to broaden the base. But of course, I understand the situation because when you need money today, of course, you get this challenge of reducing tax rates, you know, because the issue is if it backfires, what happens? That's the issue. And of course, you have seen issues of priorities. Now skipping, because I think I'll come to it again later. Again, Joseph has spoken a bit on implementation of last year's budget. Again, I'll skip again some of the issues here so that I come to, of course, for example, here, part of issues have been last year's, when it comes to implementation, it has been challenging, for example, in getting the revenues that we have wanted. And the debate has always been, now that we know we hardly land to the targets, should we be more realistic? Should we be more realistic? Should we reduce the budget? If you know maybe our capacity is around maybe 29 trillion, do we do this? And I normally have huge debates here. Sometimes we forget budget, yes, it's a political, it's an economic thing actually, it's an economic process, but maybe fortunately, unfortunately, it's also a political issue. Now I think the political side takes upper hand than the economic side. Economically speaking, I would say, you know, let's budget according to our means. Let's use what we have. But in politics, you will be unpopular to do that. And I think those are part of issues that we have to discuss. Now you could see here, for example, when it comes to revenues, last year we achieved only 87%, and there are quite a number of issues here. For local government, for example, we achieved 70%. Domestic borrowing, we managed only 57, and I understand external, I think it was more, it was even worse. And issues again, policies for this year, again I'll say, I think I will not repeat those things here. Policies, the key issue is improving a business environment, and I think this, Joseph has said, I've spoken about this. And because, you know, the blueprint has been there since last year, and I've discussed it here with ATE, Association of Tanzania Employers. The key issue was, you know, implementation. It's one thing to have this blueprint which tries to rationalize and remove, harmonize quite a number of issues, and it's another thing implementing. So what we would have wanted is really walking the talk in order to, you know, to really improve business environment here. And of course, there have been issues. Minister correctly spoken about, the question of TRA, capacity building. And for him, he talked about capacity building on tax evasion. I've worked a little bit on the tax space. I think TRA needs more than, capacity to combat tax evasion. Of course, if you listen to what His Excellency the President was talking the other time, you could see issues of customer care at length. And I have to declare interest. I'm a principal of Mzumbe University College. We teach customer service. So TRA, please, we are there. You can come. Now, on a more serious note, there are issues when it comes to international taxation. International taxation. This is a country which has quite a number of multinationals, MNEs, so which are spread across, South Africa, so really, I think there is a lot, not I think, but I know really, there is quite a need to build the capacity of TRA to do, international taxation, those kind of stuff. But also, taxing new sectors, some 5 years ago, we were talking about oil and gas, and its taxation and the challenges there. But now I think there are new challenges. The minister has not spoken about this, but I'm sure we are moving to the digital economy now. I'm not sure the extent to which TRA now is ready to tax a digital economy, because actually that's where we are in. Those people who are in NBA last year, I think I gave a paper on the extent to which we are ready to deal with digital economy, to the fourth industrial revolution technologies, to the e-banking, e-transactions. We think it's very remote, but we may see Sophia, the robot we saw in Rwanda, we may see her here, and I'm not sure the extent to which we can really tax those transactions. We may see robots, for example, in our production system. I'm seeing drones saving, an island like Ukerewe. I'm not sure those transactions, the extent to which really TRA is ready to tax. I think really we need capacity building in those areas. Now I'm skipping quite a number of issues. And I think, Joseph, you wanted me to stop mainly on the priorities. Now, one slide before. Again, there are some administrative issues and strategies for revenue improvement. And one of those is issues of formalization of the informal sector. I understand. I've been doing budgets for the past maybe 10, 15 years. Every year when you look at the challenges of collecting revenue, formalization of the informal sector, or rather taxing the informal sector, is always there. So we have been talking about this for, 5, 6 years. Are we not fixing what is broken yet? So in my view, when it comes to formalization, there are quite a number of challenges. And I did a book chapter maybe some 10 years ago with some colleagues at University of London, where we said, why is the informal sector not formalizing? There are what we call push factor and the pull and push factors. Those guys in the informal sector, in the first place, they say they immediately are formalized. Mr. Revenue, he is here. So when formalization is seen as a source of revenue collection, those in the informal sector would normally avoid it. So really, if you talk to some guys on the, on the ground, they'll tell you, real formalization should be kind of a stick and carrot. One should feel that now I need to go formal, and then he or she goes formal. But then you can still get a lot of revenue in the informal sector through what you call, presumptive taxation. And I know there are experts on those areas, so I won't go into that. But of course, issues of government now wanting to invest in areas where it can get revenue, for example, in fishing ports. We have talked about this several times. We hardly do deep sea fishing, partly because of those kind of stuff. So I think when it comes to those strategies, they are good. They are good. Now, of course, at the end of the day, is implementation. Now I'll stop at prioritization, and others will talk about tax issues. So you could see here, key issue here when it comes to the budget is attracting investors, and of course, specifically in the industrial sector. I've worked a lot on investment attraction, on FDI, foreign direct investment. I think this is something that I've been doing for the past maybe 20 years or so. You could see now, when the focus of industrialization is industries that will be creating jobs, industries that will be, using domestic raw materials, industries that will be exporting, industries that will be serving domestic market. There are quite a number of issues to discuss here. For example, when it comes to jobs creating industries, you know, and then we look at the state of the art technology, really it becomes a problem because most of the industries, if I wanted to invest in up-to-date modern industry, I will go capital intensive. I'll automate systems. So this will not create as many jobs that I want. I'm saying this because, yes, we might see a lot of industries and then we may not see jobs. So it's very good to see connection. When it comes to industries that will be using raw material, that's quite okay, very fine. But then yesterday, or not yesterday, actually last week, and you know, those who follow me have my article on Citizen every Saturday, and I think I wrote on this. You know, when you wanted to export raw maize to Zimbabwe, to Rwanda, to I don't know where, and then you talk about industrialization, really, you know, it doesn't tally. It doesn't tally. I would speak about processing maize and export maize products, you know, those kind of stuff. So all I'm saying is, I think our actions should tie. They should tie. Of course, exporting, you know, producing for export, it's okay. Domestic market, it's okay. But now when it comes to producing for domestic market, and this is the question that I normally quarrel with the captains and titans of the industry in Tanzania, I don't know whether TPSF is here, stuff. You know, as a customer, to tell the truth, what I want first is quality. You know, there is, you know, taste and preference. Quality. So long as you can produce quality that is needed for domestic market, it's okay. You will see this. I'm sure consumers really won't say consume Tanzanian first, they'll look at the quality first. So it's okay that we try to do that, but then now there should be this environment which tries to make sure that, again, what is being produced is per demand. We have talked, you know, another priority is on agriculture for industrialization, which is very okay. And I've said for this country, if it is to industrialize, agro-processing really should be a quick win, should be long-hanging fruit, to use this language. And here, the vehicle that is going to be used is Agricultural Sector Development Program 2. Now, there are issues again on linking growth with human development, which is again very correct, because part of the bigger debate is, you know, we don't like quantity growth for the sake of growth. You know, this growth has to do something. Now, in order to bring that, is linking growth to investment on health, education, skills, food, labor force, etc. And of course, one thing that maybe have to put emphasis when it comes to skills, and I'm sure employers would agree with me, we have been talking about skills generally, but I think really, being an educator, I think really soft skills is really the main issue here. We produce accountants, engineers, auditors, etc. But then soft skills, I'm not seeing us putting a lot of investment in our budget, let's say, for development of skills, soft skills. You know, teamwork, hard working, you know, endurance, etc. All this sort. I think we talk about skills generally, but really, to me, what is an issue is soft skills. Yeah, come October this year. It will be my 25th year in the university. I know we have been doing hard stuff a lot of accountants, a lot of engineers, but then I think on the soft skills space, we have not been very systematic, and I'm sure captains and titans of the industry, the ATES, Association of Tanzania Employers, TPSF, CTI, even maybe even Joseph, actually, maybe they'll be complaining, soft skills. So we have to put that. Now, to come to the end is, of course, investment climate, broadly speaking, and there are issues of legal policy and regulatory framework. Those are very important for sure. It is one of those priorities in the budget. And I think now, whereas it's quite okay, really it's implementation. It's implementation because if you'd hear what the business community was speaking with Mr. President, while, you know, TPSF has been producing, the ease of doing business report in Tanzania for years. The World Bank has been doing that report for years. OECD has Africa report on this year. So it's not that we don't know these things. To me, is implementation. As I've always said in these years, always these budgets are always good on paper. The issue is now really walking the talk, implementation. Maybe now, normally, and this is the last thing that I'm saying, normally, when it's election year, maybe we have more hopes. Yeah, 2019, local government election, 2020, central government election. That's when the government tries to deliver more. So if we miss it in 2019 and we miss it 2020, you'll have to wait delivery maybe 3 years down the line. Thank you.